ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what I call No Frills Opinions. Basically, it's me giving my view on everything and anything, from everything that makes sense to everything that's nonsense, and it'll be a lot of that. I'll just give you a little bit background of who I am. My name is David Parsons, also known as Di Turbo. Along the way, I will explain to you exactly how I got that nickname. Very, very opinionated person. I got opinion on just about everything. Some extreme, some very logic, and some very different to what you usually get from most people. So we're going to try and have a little bit of an agenda every day, try and talk about things that might not make a lot of sense to some people, make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Basically, it's could be anything from your first childhood memory to what's going on with this virus. A lot of different opinions developing over this virus in this country and worldwide. So to give a little bit of a background, I live in the South Wales Valleys in a little place called Cwm in Ebervale. Grew up in a poor working class background, something which I'm not ashamed of. In fact, I'm actually proud of. Wear that badge very proudly as working class poor background, because most people was back in them days. My father is a very well known character called Ginger Parsons, Ronald Parsons. Worked on the pit, left school when he was 14 and a half years of age, something of which would be classed as slavery, child slavery in these days, but it was known back in them days. Went on the pit as a very small person and built his career and his character up around that. He's still alive, he's still kicking, as you can see in the background, coming up 99 years of age, and the virus has not touched him. It's not touched my mother, unfortunately. A lot else has. So that's a little bit of a info. I'm a big big fan of entertainment and a monster fan of music. I love music of all genres, so we'll be talking about a lot about music, stuff like your favourite cult album, right the way up to your favourite song, what you think is good in the charts, or maybe basically what you think isn't good in the charts. I'll talk a lot about music, obviously, a lot about your favourite bands, your favourite best band you've ever seen. So we're going to go through a lot, and it's going to be a little bit controversial. I'm going to touch on a few subjects. I won't bother with. Talk a little tiny bit about racism and what's going on in the world today, particularly out in America with this Black Lives Matter. Every life should matter, in my opinion. Shouldn't be about your race or your culture or where you come from. It should be your actions that should be talked about, who you are, your personality. And we'll talk about that along the way, and we'll do a little bit of an exclusive on that, and Black Lives Matters, and whether a lot of people think the right thing to do is to protest and riot like they did back in the summer. I'm not quite sure whether I agree or don't disagree with what is going on there, but I certainly know you've got to do something when people seem to be against you. And what's going on in America, I mean, there seems to be an ongoing situation between the police, and you start to wonder whether it's engraved in them, almost like as if they're trained to do this job of attacking black and Asian people. It's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. I mean, I suffer with dyslexia, and I've struggled all my working life, and I can assure you on this, I've been discriminated with. I'll do a few exclusives along the way on that, including one about the lovely subject of care. That's coming up. I've got exclusive on that on the 12th of December 2020. I'm going to talk about my escapades in care and what I think about care now, as I'm no longer in care. Got no interest in whether one person watches this or 1,000 or 100,000. I go, no, don't believe in targets. If I'm interested, have a listen. If you're not interested, switch off, move on. Bang. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. So we'll talk a little tiny bit here, because we pushed for time. We've got 15 minutes here. We'll do another one in the morning. The virus. I'll talk about what have happened this week. Well, Boris Johnson apparently, to show off his track and trace, whatever that is, that it works. He's decided that his track and trace is working, and he's been told that he's got to isolate, or what I call hibernate. Seems to be this year, since this virus has started, that every time something bad is about to happen, or something controversial is about to happen, Boris disappears into thin air. He seems to be more like a part-time Prime Minister than a full-time Prime Minister. I've nicknamed now Krusty the Clown, because, let's be honest, everything in this country has gone on for the last 30 years has been a circus, and by God, we've had nothing but a bunch of clowns running it. And that includes the good old Labour Party, who used to stand for working class. Now they've got a party full of people who hate Jewish people and don't believe in what happened in World War II. I don't know quite where them people are coming from, but they're certainly living in my world, and they certainly don't live on my planet. Excuse me. I think I've got a touch of this virus. Anyway, so Boris Johnson himself, isolated, disappeared into thin air again. We won't see him for 2 weeks, and I tend to find that every time Boris goes into hibernation, it usually means that there's bad news on the way. So we'll test my theory out this week, because I'm expecting some bad news. We already have that. Apparently he's been caught with a few of his local MPs saying that he's not very happy. He thinks devolution, in other words giving all the power to Scotland, is an absolute farce and a waste of time. Well, that's just going to add fuel to the fire and push bullets into the lovely Nicola Sturgeon's gun to go for to become their own country and to break up the United Kingdom. And let's be perfectly honest, there is no real United Kingdom. Ireland hates England, Scotland hates England, Wales hates England in the football and the rugby, and you know, certainly in the valleys we've been under the thumb of London for a long time. So let's see what happens there. All I know is this: I can slowly start to feel that Nicola Sturgeon somewhere down the line is going to get it away, and Scotland's going to go their own way. And I think it will be a breakup of the United Kingdom, and it'll leave poor little Wales right under the thumb of London and good old England. God save our gracious Queen. So Boris is going into isolation, so we'll see if my theory's right, if it's going to be a lot of bad news. I know she's got the guns out for him at the moment, Sturgeon. Over 50s plans. Why are there so many, you know, on the TV every day? What do they think? Half dead people watch the TV in the daytime now. I work nights, or did work nights, and I'm sick and tired of seeing all the 50s plan and the party pen. What the hell is that all about? Party's got a pen. I don't want a party pen. The pencil will be do me, you know. Email now, I type in stuff, you know. I've been upgraded. So over 50s plans. Why do they think we've got to have these all the time? Perfect plan for your funeral. Yeah, well, when you're dead and gone, you ain't worried about where you're going and what you're doing. You just hope you get up there. And I pray to God, I'm not a religious person, but I pray to God that there is a God, because I've ordered my harp. So that's one of the questions I want to ask today. Get your mind going. Is, do you think that we're overrun by silly adverts in the daytime, like the over 50s plan? First memories as a kid. What's your first memory? Well, I can remember I was addicted to Farley's Rusks. I can't remember being breastfed, but my mum was a bit flat-chested, so she didn't have a lot in the tank, so probably not. I remember my first memory. I remember running out stark naked as a kid in the street shouting, ice cream, Dad! My dad was very tight for money then. I used to say, Dad, I want 50 pence for ice cream. What do I want 50 pence for? I only got 40, you would have 10. And he ended up with a mini milk. Best ice cream you can buy. Still going. Iceland. Lovely. So that's my first memory. So have a little think, you know, what's your first memory as a kid? What's your first film you watched as a kid? Mine was Superman the movie, and I still think one of the greatest films I've ever seen. Far better than these modern high-tech, flipping visual effects, pixel, whatever they call it, nonsense. drives you mad, absolutely. Watch the original and see the difference. Christopher Reeve, fantastic. The man could fly like there was no tomorrow. Man ended up in a wheelchair, dead. Fantastic. Is depression man-made? Do you believe, like me, that it's a lot to do with all the chemicals that they're pumping into all our meat and preservatives they're putting into things like pot noodles that can cause cancer and everything else that goes on? There needs to be a massive investigation into all world meats. I know they won't. And let's see exactly what it is, because if they're pumping steroids and all sort of chemicals into cows and pigs and goats and wherever else that we're eating, and clearly it's going down our throat and into our bodies, and it's God knows what it's doing to our heads. Fortunately for me, I was born with mental health, so I'm doing okay now. So that's the question. Have a little chat around your little table of four, and your self-isolation, or your little bubble, as they call it. They've got all these nicknames now since the lockdown. Yeah, favourite film. What's your favourite film? Are you like me? Do you put music now on films into genres because you can't make up your mind what your favourite this, that and the other is? So I tend to put everything into genres. I've got a top 100 favourite songs, top 100 favourite summer songs, top 100 rock songs, dance songs. I'm a big fan of dance. Big events. Do we think that big events is going to come back after this fake-demic, this pandemic that is going around, that's sweeping the nation, the virus, that is turning everybody all into zombies? Is big events. Now, I was lucky enough to spend a week up in Glastonbury last year working as security, and it was an experience. It was tough, it was hard. It's one of the hardest things I ever done, particularly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when you're going to work and you're walking around and see everybody with beer in their hands enjoying themselves, and you think, that should be really shut, tell it, honestly. But there you go. Glastonbury didn't happen this year. Supposed to be celebrating its 50th. Steelhouse right behind me didn't happen because it was celebrating its 10th anniversary and everything went haywire. So do we think big events are going to come back next year or the year after? The Olympics, the European Championships? Personally, myself, I think not. I think not. So have a little think of these questions. Like I said, first memory as a kid. What was your first memory? Think back. Think way back, baby. The virus. What do you think of Boris Johnson? Let's see this week. Let's see how this week pans out. Let's see what kind of news is going to come out. And because there's a lot of talk going around that we're going to have another lockdown either before Christmas or over Christmas. So are we going to not have a Christmas this year? And here's another little thing that I started to think about a couple of weeks ago. If they think that people are not self-isolating in the way that they should, will they ban alcohol just before Christmas? So let me tell you something now, ladies and gentlemen. Have a little think about this. Stock up early, because you never know what Boris, Krusty the Clown, and his little team of merry men is going to do. Yeah, first, is depression man-made? Have a little think about that. Just have a little think. School reunions. What's the reason you would organise a school reunion? Is it like me? It's nostalgia. You want to see if you remember people. Is people alive? You know, it sounds a bit morbid. Or is it something selfish? Are you doing well for yourself and you want to show off? You want to see your old friends, how they're doing. Are they doing as well as you or good as you? Certainly can't do worse than what I'm doing. I'm out of work now for about the third time in my life and struggling. But, you know, shit happens. So have a little think. Don't forget, this is David Parsons or Die Turbo. No Frills Opinions, where every sense about nonsense will make sense. See you later.